Dusty Crew. Good morning, USA.
Good morning, sports fans. Another great day in Syracuse. Didn't even have to break out the puff jacket.
I agree. Beautiful.
So, Chris, fast food breakfast, what's your favorite?
Gonna go with Chick-fil-A. By far, my favorite breakfast fast food place.
It's a classic.
You know, just the chicken biscuits. Never can go wrong with that. With some nice hash browns and some OJ.
Okay, I mean, I'll take your chicken biscuit and I'll raise you Bojangles. I mean, it's got more seasoning, it's got more flavor, a better biscuit maybe, and they will serve you fries before 10 a.m.
Cough, cough. Gonna have to say gasoline, coffee.
You know what? I don't drink the coffee. If you're going to go for coffee for breakfast, you'll go to a coffee place for breakfast. And you get a Bowberry biscuit, you get your chicken biscuit, you get your fries. It's a great morning.
Well, the next time I go to North Carolina, I'm gonna have to check it out then.
You should.
Yeah. Well, switching gears, we're going to move on now to the college football world. We have a lot to talk about this week. And starting off, we have some pretty big stories. First one being that Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher is out. Eric.
I mean, I think it was time. He got a couple of years of recruiting classes. He got to the point where you could see them redshirt and take a couple of years, and he couldn't do anything. You know, what was it, 4 losses pretty much every year. Mm-hmm. And they brought him in to be a championship coach. They gave him a championship plaque that the date he was hired, and then no date after that. They thought he would win a championship, and he didn't.
Eric, I also think it's interesting, you know, 45-25 record with Texas A&M and a $76 million buyout. So he was still supposed to be there for seven or 8 more years till 2031. So very interesting.
I mean, college football contracts, they're changing. Fully guaranteed contract. I don't know if that's the best move looking back, but they have the money, it shows, that they've shown to hire anyone in the country.
I agree. Now moving on, we have Jim Harbaugh suspended by the Big Ten for the remaining final 3 games of the 2023 regular season. And how has it looked for Michigan so far?
I mean, they looked fine against Penn State, so maybe it won't affect them the way that we think it did. I think the Big Ten just really wanted to put their stamp on the whole situation and put their punishment on it, and I don't know if I agree. It seems a little swift. It seems a little kind of just reactionary.
Mm-hmm. So what happens next for Harbaugh, in your opinion?
I mean, I think he's going to try to go out on top. I think they have a good shot to win it all this year, and then he would probably just leave. I mean, why deal with a whole investigation and punishment when you can go and get a job in the NFL again?
Yep. Prospective UCLA recruits identified as suspects in the Colorado locker room theft at the Rose Bowl a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's all still an investigation. We don't entirely know what happened, but it does look like that they were the ones who did it. And I agree with what Deion Sanders said. You know, get them community service, get them some help. But everyone makes stupid mistakes when they're 17 and 18. We shouldn't take the rest of their college football careers or even high school football careers away for something like this.
It's week 12, and we've got some amazing football games this week. We're going to be previewing you 3 games that are must-watch for this week. And Eric, we have the first one. Number 1, Georgia Bulldogs at number 18, Tennessee Volunteers. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, for Tennessee, if you could play 2 Super Bowls in a year, then I guess this is their second Super Bowl. So, you know, I think they're going to come out trying to win, like any team would, and I think they're going to come out, you know, firing on offense, and they're going to see what they can do. But I think Georgia will just shut them down real quick. I mean, Georgia's shown that they can stop people and find a way to win, even if their offense isn't clicking all the way.
Yeah, Eric, I think another thing they also add is that this is a Tennessee team that really loves to rush the ball. I mean, 9th in the country and rushing yards for their offense. And so, like, I think this is definitely going to be a ground-heavy game for them. But like you said, I mean, that Georgia defense, it's something, right? I mean, only allowing, 100 yards a game. And, you know, they're pretty much, top of the, crop in all defensive categories. So it'll be something to see.
Yeah, and I mean, for Tennessee, now I think, what is it? Brock Bowers is healthy again now. He's been getting healthier every week. They got to stop him. He got put on a watch list for an offensive lineman award. It's like this guy, he can do everything.
Yeah, and everything as well. I mean, Tennessee 1-4 in their last 5 home games. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, it
is
could
Neyland
be
Stadium what it really is supposed to be? Is it what they market it as? We'll have to see.
Yeah. At number 2, we have number 5 Washington Huskies at number 11 Oregon State Beavers.
It's a Pacific Northwest battle. That's what we have. I mean, I want Washington again. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. They need to have a big win, a big ranked win, multiple touchdowns, 14, 21 points, really show that they're dominant. Do what Michigan, Alabama, do what those teams do to other teams.
Eric, I think I'm going to actually go with Oregon State, though, right? I mean, they're 16-1 in their last 3 years at home. A home record like that is no joke. But I think we also have to realize, too, like you said, Washington is 9-1 in their last games against Oregon State. And so that definitely does show that they right now kind of have the upper hand. But like you said, Huskies definitely do need a ranked win to really solidify, their reasoning and their chance for being in these college football playoffs.
Yeah, and I think if they can take this one handedly, the College Football Playoff Committee cannot ignore the fact that they do, just on paper, have a better record and a better resume than Florida State.
Yeah. And our final one, we have the number 7 Texas Longhorns at Iowa State Cyclones. And this is an Iowa State team that has won 3 of the past 4 games against Texas in a much-heated Big 12 conference.
So are you putting Texas on upset alert then?
I definitely am. I think I have to. You can't deny it. 3-4 in the last couple of games. I just feel like Texas, again, barely survived KSU last week. Texas has not really looked impressive to me at all, last few weeks this season. And so I think it's time for him to get out of the top 10.
I think for Texas, this is another game where they're going to right the ship against an opponent that they've struggled against. They did it against TCU. They did it against Kansas State. They did it against Kansas. These are all teams that have kind of track records against them this year, and I think they're going to set the record straight.
I agree. Now, moving on, the CFP has released their third week of the CFP playoff standings. And there's a new number 1, Georgia, 10-0. Eric, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. I don't really see any. I guess the ranked win for Georgia moved them up above Ohio State. But for me, when every team keeps winning, it's hard to move people around, and it's all just kind of nitpicking. I think really, if you look at the top 8, they all have a chance to make the playoff. And that's what's really interesting this year.
Yeah. And now Ohio State at number 2. They're also 10-0. They won last week against Michigan State, 38-3. And they have a 67% chance of making it. But I guess we're not really surprised. Like you said, we talked about this top 4.
It's Ohio State at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing with Ohio State is they have a high chance of making it, but I feel like those chances could be cut almost to 0 if they lose to Michigan. It's still a team, they look dominant, they look even more dominant every week, but it's still a team that the Michigan game really tells all, and that's for Michigan as well.
Yeah. Michigan at number 3. Now, they have still survived. Last week they played Penn State, but they did have a 24-15 win, really good win, so they're still in the mix. And like you said, as well, if Michigan were to lose to Ohio State, that might even also, have some effects on their chances.
That could affect their chances as well, and that could see kind of Harbaugh heading out the door, maybe something like that. Michigan and Ohio State, I think they both just had to prove their offense can score, because it's the Big Ten, and these Big Ten games get low scoring, and that's why we see these teams getting absolutely rolled in the playoff, because it doesn't feel like they put up the points that other teams do, and the SEC defenses are getting just as good.
Yep. And just as last week, at number 4, we have Florida State, also 10-0. And they're going to be looking again to really just, stay in that top 4. Washington is right on their tail, and they've had a couple of ranked wins recently. And who knows, if they were to beat Oregon State next week, Washington could creep into that 4th spot.
I think Florida State, it all just relies on them dominating teams. Like, Miami was a team that they really should have walked out there and beat by a couple touchdowns, and the game stayed close. And that's the difference maker at the end of the day for Florida State. Them and Washington. One of those 2 teams has to prove that they can beat teams by double digits.
We're going to speed it up here. At our number 6, we have Oregon at 9-1. We also have Texas at 9-1 as well, and Alabama still creeping in there, hanging in there at 9-1. They have a 20% chance of making it. And we have a new 9-10. Penn State and Ole Miss are no longer in, but we have Missouri at number 9, 8-2. And at number 10, we have Louisville at 9-1. And this is your top 10 for the week and CFP.
Yeah, I think 6 through 8 are all just the chasers. I think the conference tournament is really where they can make their mark. They are conference championship dependent teams now. They all have to win it to have a chance.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Missouri would probably be a long shot. Alabama, I feel like they've got it on lock. The West and the SEC. That's pretty much on lock. So I think it's definitely going to be Georgia, Alabama, Louisville. I don't really know about that one. It could.
It's a toss-up game, really.
Yeah.
So all this talk about conference championships and all that good stuff, it's got me really now looking forward to the in-season tournament for the NBA. So we're going to go to Elie and Joe to talk about it.
Let's see that. Thanks, Chris and Eric. We are back talking more NBA basketball, and this season has started off a little bit different than in past seasons, and that is because of the in-season tournament.
Yep.
This is the inaugural season of the in-season tournament. It's been going on for the past few weeks now. And Joe, what are your thoughts so far about this edition?
Yeah, so I was very skeptical at first of the in-season tournament. I was thinking, like, are the players really going to understand what's going on? Are they going to really buy into what the morale of the in-season tournament is going to be like? However, I think it's off to a great start. We got some real good action going on in the NBA related to the in-season tournament. I mean, yes, it's randomized, but at the same time, there's been some heavy contests going on, and especially last night too. There's been 2 fights that have happened in the in-season tournament that's taken place in the Lakers-Grizzlies game as well as the Warriors-Timberwolves game. So, I mean, again, like it's been very high action, and I really appreciate what the NBA is doing, and I think the players are finally understanding that it matters, and I think that that bonus too is putting some work into it as well.
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think this is I like what the NBA is doing here, trying to spice up the long regular season, get the players more involved earlier in the year, get the fans more involved. But I do think that it could be improved. I think that the reward for $500,000 is obviously, that's a lot of money. That's a great reward.
I would love to have $500,000.
Especially for a lot of these young guys on the team. Players on 2-way contracts, rookie deals, second-round picks, they don't make that type of money. But I think for a lot of the other players, like there is a reward lacking, and an idea that I've seen been floated has been that the winner of the in-season tournament gets an automatic playoff spot. And so I think that if the NBA were to implement that as the reward, I think that the in-season tournament would have to happen later in the season, because if you have, an automatic playoff bid on the line in the first month of the season, and whoever wins that is kind of, gonna coast for the rest of the year. But I think that would be a fantastic award. That would make the games, even more, exciting, with so much on the line, and I think that would get the players and the fans even more excited.
Yeah, I mean, I was going off of that. Like, you mentioned how it should be brought on later, the in-season tournament. I actually disagree with that. I think the reason that the NBA is trying to do this, the in-season tournament, is to make sure that not only the NBA, the players itself, but the fans, they buy into the NBA. They are watching from the get-go, from the start. The first Friday the NBA season tournament started, I thought it was a great success. It was early, it was high action, had the Knicks, Bucks, at the Nuggets, Mavs. It was a great start to the in-season tournament. I think starting it earlier and progressing throughout the season to December when the actual quarterfinal starts, I actually think that's better for the NBA, and that way more fans know what the in-season tournament's all about, and they're not confused when it happens later on in the season and when they're wondering why is it all of a sudden there's an in-season tournament. I think, however, there are some flaws to this, and maybe many people are chiming into just the in-season tournament games. But, like, again, I think it's still high action. And one game that I want to talk about, we talked about this earlier, is the Warriors-Timberwolves game and Draymond Green. And, man, there's a lot to talk about with Draymond Green. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Draymond Green?
Yeah, I think that game specifically, the Timberwolves are one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah,
one of the hottest teams.
Yeah.
They're one of the only teams that are undefeated at home. Anthony Edwards is playing like a top 5 player in the league right now.
Lights out.
And I think that the Warriors, they felt that they wanted to take care of business, and especially Steph Curry wasn't playing that game. So I think that tensions were high, emotions were high, and that emotions got the best of Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. And obviously I don't support putting someone in a headlock in an NBA game, but that's Draymond Green's job. He's the enforcer. That's what he's there to do, protect his teammates. And he saw Rudy Gobert putting his hands on his teammates, and he did what he thought was appropriate. There are going to be, they were ejected, and there are probably, he probably will get suspended. But
sure.
Yeah, that excitement is definitely good for the NBA, fantastic for the in-season tournament. And some of the, we spoke about Anthony Edwards, but a few of the other guys that have been playing well in the in-season tournament, but just the entire season, have been Tyrese Halliburton and Tyrese Maxey. The Tyreses have been on fire to start this season. What have you seen from them that you have liked in the first 2 weeks of the season so far?
Well, I actually appreciate both of them incredibly. They're doing a great job for both their respective teams. However, I do want to give more of a shout out to Maxey. I think Tyrese Maxey is doing a great job for the Sixers. Many people are not realizing this. The Sixers are number 1 in the Eastern Conference right now. I had them as going into the NBA season as one of the worst teams. I think with the departure of James Harden, or what was going on with James Harden, I think it was too much of a distraction. However, they got rid of James Harden. I think it's so much better for the team. I think Tyrese Maxey has filled the role as a number 2 guy for Joel Embiid. I think he's making Joel Embiid even better. Joel Embiid has a better shot to win the MVP this year, just like he's won it last year. I think Maxey has just improved his game exponentially. It's gone to a point where they're one of the top teams in the NBA for a reason, and they have a great chance to knock off any other teams in the East, like the Celtics, the Bucks, whoever stands in their way. And who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs? But I think Maxey, you gotta give him some love.
Yeah, I think for Maxey and the Sixers, it's been addition by subtraction. Losing James Harden is, he hasn't been himself these past few years, but he's still an all-star and all-NBA caliber player. But losing him, added so much for this team. Tyrese Maxey, as you just said, took the next step. Tobias Harris has been playing like he did years earlier. Maxey had a 50-point game 2 games ago. He's been averaging 28 points per game. But I think an underrated aspect of his game, and kind of what you spoke about, taking over that James Harden role, is his passing.
Yeah.
His first few years in the league, he was not a passer, and he had I don't think he had a single game with double-digit assists. But already this year, the Sixers have played 10 games, and in 4 of them, he's had double-digit assists. So he has obviously, stepped up passing, but being a playmaker, he's, gotten better at that, and that's definitely going to help Embiid and the Sixers team. But if we're going to talk about playmaking, I think the best playmaker in all of basketball right now is Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton, I looked up his stats earlier. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He's averaging 25 points per game, 12.5 assists per game, 4 rebounds, shooting 50, 40, 90, and averaging only 2 turnovers a game. That's a lot of numbers for you,
but
I just
the Pacers on the map as well.
That's true.
Sure.
That's a lot of numbers, a lot of stats, but I just want to say if he's able to keep up these stats and this pace for the rest of the year, he would be the first player in NBA history to average over 20 points and 10 assists while being 50, 40, 90. That is if that was to happen, that'd be one of the most difficult and amazing, feats that I've ever seen in my basketball life. He has, in the past 2 games, he's had 32 assists with guess how many turnovers? Zero turnovers. And it's not that these are just empty stats. The Pacers, as you said, are 3rd in the West in the East, with a record of 7-4. They are one of the best teams in the NBA in the Eastern Conference, and their offense has been through the roof, one of the best offenses we have seen in recent years. So I'm a big fan of Tyrese Halliburton recently, and I'm looking forward to what the Tyreses are going to be doing for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just to wrap it up, I think the Pacers, again, top team in the East. No one's really talking about them again, and they're making even guys like Obi Toppin, player on the Knicks who got traded to the Pacers. His game has gone better. He's making his teammates better as well, and I think it's just a great part of the game.
Really love to see the young players, the young guards, take the next step forward in their NBA careers. Thanks, guys. I'm Elie.
I'm Joe.
That's all we got for today.
All of us talk about Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL. Now it's time for us to really follow suit, and now talk about the NFL.
Let's do it.
All right, Cam, we're here to talk about professional football. We didn't host this week, but really quick, I want to give a shout out to Chris and Eric.
They killed it this week.
They killed it. I am so proud of them and how much they've grown. They are 2 fantastic individuals, and I love them both equally. All right, let's talk about some games in the NFL, starting with Panthers and the Bears on Thursday Night Football. It sucked. It was boring. I mean, just like many Thursday Night Football games this year.
Well, no matter what, the Bears win in that game.
Exactly. The Bears are winning. They are doing fantastic. And as much as I hate that,
they will probably have the number 1 pick.
Exactly, and they're probably going to use it to get, who do you think, Caleb Williams?
Caleb Williams, but I feel like the gap definitely is tightening between Caleb Williams and Drake May, but I still think Caleb Williams will go number 1.
Absolutely. I think personally, do you think they'll go with Caleb Williams or Marvin Harrison Jr.? Maserati Marv.
Well, it depends on how Justin Fields does.
Or how Bajent does, because honestly, with how people are talking about him, they might keep him for
Yeah.
No reason. He's not good. He's like he'll be a serviceable QB too.
Yeah. I don't know why everyone's going crazy about Tyson Bagent.
Because of his long, luscious hair. But he's not Trevor Lawrence, too. He just simply isn't. All right, Colts Patriots in Germany. Yikes.
Another boring game.
Another boring game. I said, why did I wake
The
up?
Colts are now 5-5.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick's seat gets hotter and hotter.
Bill Belichick's seat gets hotter and hotter, but he's still leaving people's house with his shirt off on Ring Video. Bill needs to stop focusing on what's happening outside of the football field and happen on what's going on inside. All right, now we got the Browns and Ravens, a game that I was fully shocked by. I really thought this was the Ravens game.
Yeah.
And the Browns won, but at a price because Cam, quarterback Deshaun Watson out for the season. As much as I hate Deshaun Watson and what he's done, you never celebrate an injury like that. But I am excited to not have to watch him on May TV anymore.
Yeah, now Dorian Thompson-Robinson will be starting for the Browns. Honestly, what do you think? Do you think it should have been P.J. Walker named the starter?
I
honestly think P.J. Walker earned that spot with some of those big wins, especially against the Niners.
I think it should have been Josh Dobbs, but then they moved on from him in what is going to prove to be a tragic mistake. Yeah, I think it should have been P.J. Walker. I don't trust DTR. I get 3 fantasy talks segment. I'm going to tell you, if you had been starting a Browns receiver or like David Njoku, I think it's time to move on and look for something else. I just don't think they're going to be that serviceable for you. Packers-Steelers, just a frustrating game for me.
You handle this one.
I'll handle this one. Cam, the boys have been talking about Jim Harbaugh. I'm going to be honest, I think we're going to see Harbaugh coaching the Green Bay Packers next offseason. That's my crazy Gabe take. I think it is splashy, it'll boost morale, and I don't think it'll be good because he's not the most fantastic coach in the NFL history, you know what I'm saying?
No, he's made it to a Super Bowl. He's made it
Sure,
to
sure.
2 NFC championships.
You're right. I think I mixed him up with his brother. That's what happened.
His brother's still pretty good.
Yeah, I could be better. No, I'm kidding.
One thing. Do you really think they'll fire LaFleur after one bad season?
I think they will, yeah, unfortunately. I think moving on from Jordan Love is the better decision, but I don't think we're going to do that. I think we're going to get Jordan Love on a cheap contract and try and hire someone like Harbaugh, who is known for building up quarterbacks.
Yeah.
I don't think getting rid of Matt LaFleur is a good decision, but I think it's what we're going to do because Brian Gutekunst is not always known for making the best decisions. All I'm saying is I'm liking Joe Alt, Notre Dame. I think we'll get him with the 6th pick in the NFL draft, and I'm seeing a lot of mock drafts indicating that same thing. We probably should take a wide receiver, but we're not going to do that.
Packers will never take a wide receiver.
Exactly. So instead, let's focus on something that will happen.
But let's talk about the Steelers. They're 6-3 now.
Yeah. I don't think the Steelers. I don't want to say they're contenders yet, but they're certainly not pretenders. You know what I'm saying?
They'll stick in games, but they just strike me as a wild card exit all the way.
I think Mike Tomlin is the most galvanizing coach in the NFL. It's that same effect as Doug Peterson. It's like, I will play for this man. I will run through a wall for him. Here's the thing. The Steelers have weapons. George Pickens, fantastic. Obviously, you've got TJ Watt on defense. He's a human bulldozer. He'll shut people down. I have some worries about Kenny Pickett. Here's the thing. Pat Freiermuth, look like he's coming back. He's a solid tight end. He adds a lot to that offense. And this was just a frustrating game for me.
Yeah, it is. It must have been a frustrating game. But speaking of Doug Peterson and running through walls, the Jaguars and Doug Peterson ran into a wall on Sunday.
That was a great segue, man. I'm very proud of you for that. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really thought this game was going to be much more competitive. I was really looking forward to it.
It was probably the most disappointing game of the week. Part of me thought the Jaguars actually might pull off a win before this game started.
Yeah. And that certainly didn't happen here. What we got was Brock Purdy saying, shut up. I may have off weeks, but I still play in the best system in the NFL, and I have weapons, and I don't want to hear your criticism.
Yeah,
he was fantastic, and Trent Williams was back, Debo being back. When this Niners team is healthy, I don't know that I'd want to play them at all. Like, the thing that made me saddest about this is Christian McCaffrey not being able to continue his touchdown streak. They schemed to try and get it to him. It just didn't happen.
I didn't really care because, like, touchdown merchants like him, like, of course he does a lot more, but, like, towards the end of the game it was just really sad, like, obviously trying to put him in the end zone. Like, you couldn't score a touchdown. Like, I think it's more important to win the game, which they already had, but, like,
sure,
it's just really douchey. Like, please.
One of the things that I saw that was really funny was people saying that the Jags had no respect and they should have let him go into the end zone. And I'm like, what?
No, like, if they tried that every time, I'd probably try to hit him as hard as I could.
That's what I'm saying.
No, like, because you're just, like, spitting in my face now, like, oh, now let's, like, it's like when, like, it's like when the Ravens got in trouble for doing this against the Broncos a few years back, when they like ran for on the last play of the game, they ran for like 8 yards to get that like straight 100-yard game, which they had been doing. So, and it's like, yeah, no, like it was a very, I would have done the same thing if I was the Jaguars. Like, you've been beaten down, you've been humiliated.
Yeah, you're
and
not
they're trying to extend their streak. Like they're not even paying attention to you anymore. They're just trying to do stuff for stats. So,
Absolutely.
Like, I don't feel too bad for Christian McCaffrey. He tied the record for most straight games with a touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, I feel bad for him, but I don't think the Jags sort of just let him walk into the end zone. I will tell you what was a fantastic game that was really fun to watch. Saints-Vikings.
Yeah.
Because Josh Dobbs is
He's
the
the
truth.
truth.
The Pastronaut doesn't come to play. And some people thought he would have a crash landing, but I think he's fully ascended into orbit. I cannot think of any more astronaut puns to make, so I'm going to...
Yeah, well, I'm over the moon for Josh Dobbs.
That was fantastic. You
I think,
are a beast.
I think it makes me happy to see it. Someone who everyone had written off. Like, you get that every year.
He makes me want to cheer for the Vikings. Do you know how hard that is? Do you know how much hatred I have in my body for the Minnesota Vikings?
Josh Dobbs, he just looked very good.
He looked very good. He has a fantastic connection with T.J. Hawkinson,
Yeah.
who, like, despite injuries, was a beast. Oh, man, starting him in fantasy was a good move. That's number 2. I think the Vikings are great, and Justin Jefferson's going to be coming back. And
But here's the thing. They were losing a lot with Justin Jefferson. Is Justin Jefferson the problem? I'm just kidding.
As a Packers fan, I'm willing to take that problem. I think we can make Justin Jefferson better. I think we can change him. All right, next we have someone who doesn't need to change at all because they are already evolving into one of the biggest beasts in the NFL. C.J. Stroud beating the Bengals, and this was not like a fluke loss. This was just legitimately C.J. Stroud playing out of his goddamn gourd.
C.J. Stroud, this is one of the best rookie seasons I've seen in a while for a quarterback. He has just come in and he threw a pick during this game, his second pick of the season. We're past midseason.
Yep.
He has thrown 2 picks this season. He's just come in and he's just dominated. He's shown that like he's a true professional. And like at Ohio State, that's what everyone was worried about was he had great weapons, but like also Ohio State doesn't put out many very good quarterbacks at all. Like Justin Fields doesn't look great. Like you've just seen a bunch of it. And a lot of people are worried. He's like, oh, he doesn't run too much. Like he has his arms fine. He didn't do great at the combine and the drills.
And there was all the comments about the test, how he didn't know how to read.
No, like
try and tell me this man does not know how to read a defense after this game.
Yeah, no, like he was like he really got the brunt of the media hate before the draft. I'm really happy for him.
And the Panthers lost for it. And I'll tell you, I personally brought into it. I thought Bryce Young was the best in this class. And I think I've been proven dead wrong. And I think part of it is the Panthers have no weapons, and everyone's treating Bryce Young very unfairly because he hasn't had the opportunity. Like, he's throwing to 33-year-old Adam Thielen.
Yeah, but we're acting like C.J. Stroud's starting to all-star.
Exactly. He's got Noah Brown.
Like Tank Dell, who's actually coming in as a very good receiver, like a third-round rookie. And
I
playing
think
out of
Devin
his mind.
Singletary is doing fantastic.
And Nico Collins is having a little bit of a breakout season. Dalton Schultz is a very serviceable starting tight end. It's a great, like, good role players, but, like, we're not going to act like C.J. Stroud has, like, Justin Jefferson
This
on
is
his
the
team.
2011 Milwaukee Bucks, where it's, like, just really solid rotational players put together.
Yeah. Just wait till they get a true wide receiver 1,
Absolutely.
and they're going to be incredible.
And you know what they've got? They've got a pick that...
will probably be top 5.
That's what I'm saying. And then Derek Stingley coming back, and he's starting to re-engage and do a great job.
Could we see a reunion? Oh, wait. No, they don't have the third. They don't have a top pick. My bad.
Oh, they traded with the Cardinals.
They traded that pick away, but what it looked like it was going to give the Cardinals 2 top 5 picks. Doesn't look like it's going to be.
Scary.
That's our mess up.
That's on us. And then Dameon Pierce. I mean, I am kind of wondering what his place is in this offense, but I still think he's quite good.
He's running back.
Exactly. But, like, I think he's going to keep getting better. It's the second year. Remains to be seen. All right, Titans, Buccaneers.
The Will Levis hype train's hit a little bit of a halt.
It's hit a little bit of a halt. Obviously, now you're finally starting to be able to scheme against him, know like how he plays.
It feels like every QB comes in who's new, either has like a not very good game at all or a really good game because teams haven't schemed against them yet.
For sure. The Buccaneers are, I think, the best team in the NFC South. I mean, it's as simple as that. I think they are that good. Baker is just putting this team on his back and saying, "You're not going to stop me."
Mike Evans has been playing very well.
Absolutely.
He's the personification of what's it called? I forgot the word. Like when you just keep doing something like
Consistency.
Consistency. That's
Personification of consistency. Absolutely.
really embarrassing.
No, it's not embarrassing. It's a great point. All right, Lions Chargers. I'll tell you who is embarrassed. The Chargers after that loss.
Speaking
Cam,
of consistency, they are the opposite of consistency.
I want to ask you this question: is this a better win for the Lions or a worse loss for the Chargers?
You could say both.
Because the Lions, the big thing people vaunt about them is the defense. They have a great offense, but it's always the Lions' defense. They had 38 points scored on them.
Yeah. That was tough, but luckily they have Jared Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown to keep them in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, David Montgomery being
The
back,
Chargers-
Jahmyr Gibbs
the
being
Chargers-
back, Sam Laporta. Here's the thing: the Chargers are good. It's just here's their two issues. Brandon Staley is not a good head coach, and Justin Herbert he's fluky.
Well, here's what I have to say. The Chargers, Justin Herbert, and Brandon Staley cannot finish games. And
They
that's
can't.
what I've been saying. That's why Justin Herbert,
Do
until
you
he
think that's more
changes,
on Staley or more on Herbert?
Staley's been taking all the criticism, but first it was Lombardi taking all the criticism, and then they're like, oh, we got Kellen Moore as the new offensive coordinator, so the Chargers offense is going to go great. And then they're probably even worse than last year on offense. And Kellen Moore, I don't think he was the problem in Dallas. I think people need to stop making excuses for Justin Herbert, and he needs to start winning games because he just doesn't win games.
Justin Herbert to Green Bay in 2 years? Question mark.
No.
Nah, I could see it happening. I'm wishing it into existence.
My point is, like, people are going to keep blaming coaches because people have a weird love for Herbert. Like, he's so talented. Like,
because he is the football nerd's dream. He is a stat nerd dream.
6'6", he can run a little bit. He has a great arm, very talented, but he just doesn't win games.
Here's the thing: you can't have the body of Peyton Manning and not have his brain. You know what I'm saying? It does not equate to a winning quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you could argue he's probably smarter than Peyton in the real stuff. He was a TA at
Sure, but I'm saying Peyton's football brain.
Yes, I just think he's not clutch, and I think people are going to keep. So they'll fire Staley after the season, obviously, and I feel like this is Herbert's not last chance to be a starter. Justin Herbert will be the Phillip Rivers of the NFL.
Yes,
they replaced Phillip Rivers with a perfect guy, someone who will put up great stats, someone who everybody thinks is a good quarterback, and they'll just blame everyone else except that guy for the reason they can't get over the hump.
Yeah, but there's
until it's 15 years later, he's 38. And he retires, and they're like, okay, we got to find someone else.
Yeah, there is a window
but what a
closing
wasted
here.
career with his coaching.
Exactly. There's a window closing here with Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, possibly moving on to greener pastures.
Yeah.
You know, you've got
Well,
Josh Palmer, Mike Williams.
If I'm Austin Eckler, I'm not complaining about where I am at all. There's no greener pastures for Austin Eckler. The Chargers is a good place for him to be if he wants to put up stats. The moment he leaves, hear me out, the moment he leaves Los Angeles, he's going to be irrelevant. This happens to every running back besides Christian McCaffrey.
I think where he'll end up at, personally, is Dallas. I think Dallas seems like a great fit. I don't think it's good, but I'm saying I think that's where he's going to up. All right, Giants, Cowboys, we don't have much to say about this. It
was horrible. Tommy DeVito's not great, but he played okay.
But he lives with his parents, so, Tommy, if you're listening to this on your parents' flat screen, you should probably do better at football. I'm going to be honest with you. You're a Syracuse alum, and you're making all of us look bad.
But speaking of Syracuse alum, we had two guys who played on our team last year played against each other in the Falcons-Cardinals game.
Yeah.
But probably the bigger story is that Kyler Murray has finally made his return.
Kyler Murray made his return, and
win.
everyone was saying, well, he's probably not going to run. And then the pocket collapsed on him, and he scrambled like his name was Barry Allen. He did a great job. It was fun to watch. And when Cardinals football is fun to watch, it's better because for some reason, I feel like they're either always in the 1 o'clock or always in the 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
And it's not that Josh Dobbs made them boring, but you kind of knew there was a ceiling on that team.
And the Falcons are completely collapsing in front of our eyes.
Arthur Smith needs to be fired. He is probably the biggest dumbass in the NFL. Gonna be honest with you. Your weapons are Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson and Drake London. And who's your biggest offensive weapon? Oh, Jonnu Smith. Listen, I don't think Jonnu Smith is bad, but he should not be the bell horse of your offense. That's all I'm saying. I think that's stupid. Commanders, Seahawks. The Seahawks played way worse than I thought they would. I'm going to be honest. I had much bigger expectations. I think DK Metcalf is starting to worry me a little bit.
I don't know. I feel like he needs to get his head in the game. He always struck me as someone who's had so much physical talent, but he's never had his head fully in the game.
I'll tell you whose head is in the game. Jake Bobo. I've got a lot of Jake Bobo stock,
Duke,
and I'm believing in the man.
Duke transfer. Went to UCLA's final year. I remember back when I was a Duke fan, I liked him at Duke.
Well, are you still a Jake Bobo fan?
No.
Well, I'm the president of the Jake Bobo fan club, so we'd welcome you.
Well, speaking of someone whose welcome is dwindling, Zach Wilson with the Jets. They lost the Raiders.
Yeah, that wasn't good. When you lose a game on a pick like that, that's not good. That's no bueno. Listen, Zach Wilson, please don't come to Green Bay. Please, I beg of you. I don't want you. We don't want you. I don't think New York wants you, and I'm starting to think that maybe nobody does. Like, maybe there's a reason Utah wanted him gone.
People's moms like him, though.
They do, and maybe that's why Utah wanted him gone. Finally, we have the Broncos and the Bills, and the Bills have gone to 500 on the season, and I think there's only one thing that explains this: the Madden curse. I can't think of anything else.
Well, I thought you were gonna say Ken Dorsey, but
Ken Dorsey,
all I'm gonna say is
it's not really his fault. I'm gonna be real here.
if a certain person on the team didn't give the opponent the ball 2 or 3 times a game,
Have you
maybe they're off. Again, if I was the quarterback of a team, not saying this person's as bad as me. I mean, because I'm pretty horrible, but the offensive coordinator would probably be fired if I was the QB. But that wouldn't make that was not the offensive coordinator's fault.
Yeah.
I'm just not good at football.
But
Josh Allen is good at football, but this year he's just been turning the ball over
he's playing like a deer in the headlights, dude.
it's like second year Josh Allen all over again.
Absolutely. And you cannot depend. Josh Allen has no consistency right now, and the Bills need thermonuclear Josh Allen. 13 seconds left against the Chiefs. Josh Allen, he isn't that right now. He isn't, and you can't expect him to be. And if you keep putting yourself in situations where that's the only way you're going to win, you're just simply not going to win. He is a waste of time right now, and I don't want to watch him on primetime football.
I wouldn't call him a waste of time.
I do not want to watch this Bills team on my Monday Night Football.
It is a shame to see that this team, who's so talented, is probably their window is going to be completely closed. This team had so much potential, and we'll never even see him hit a Super Bowl.
Stephon Diggs to the Packers.
He will not.
I'm going to look forward to it.
No one.
That's a song I've been workshopping
Nobody
right
wants
now.
to go to the Packers. I'm
Yes,
sorry,
they do.
Gabe. But
all right, let's talk about some great games from
thanks
next
for
week.
cutting me off, but
I'm sorry. It's just you're breaking my heart about the Packers. No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you who will break our heart is the Chargers, and we'll get to that. One game I want to talk about: Bengals Ravens Thursday Night Football. Finally, a good Thursday Night Football game. Hopefully, I think this could be a great game. Cam, who's your pick?
I'm gonna go. This is tough. I'm gonna just go with the home team. We'll go Ravens.
Okay. Steelers Browns.
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers. Another win in the AFC North for them. Raiders Dolphins.
Dolphins. This is a game the Dolphins win.
Absolutely. Bears Lions.
Lions will win this one.
Great. Titans and Jaguars.
Jaguars are gonna pull it together after last week.
Chargers and Packers.
Sorry to break it to you, Gabe, but honestly, you know what? I'll give you one.
If the Packers are going to win a game, it'd be against Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes, the Packers need something to ruin their draft odds.
And
So
this
I'm
would be
gonna go.
it.
I'm gonna go Packers.
All right, Cardinals Texans.
Texans all the way. CJ Stroud's on such a hot streak right now. They're gonna go in. They're gonna handle business.
Cowboys Panthers.
Sad as it is to say, the boys are gonna win this one.
Giants and Commanders.
The Giants always play good against the Commanders. I'm gonna go Giants.
Buccaneers and the Niners.
Niners.
Okay. Jets Bills.
Bills will win this one.
Hopefully.
They're gonna have basically a pretty new scheme, and I just don't the Jets defense is very good, but I just feel like that Jets offense is just so bad.
Seahawks and Rams.
I'm gonna go Seahawks.
Vikings Broncos.
I'm gonna go Broncos. Russell Wilson has not been bad at all this year. No one's really been talking about it. He's had a good comeback this year. He's been playing pretty solid. His team around him is not very good.
Finally,
Sean Payton's not a very good head coach, but Russell Wilson's had a good comeback season.
Yeah, we don't have too many great Sunday games. We have a great Thursday game and a great Monday game because on Monday Night Football, we have the Eagles and the Chiefs in the battle of the slippery...
Yeah, all I'm going to say, if the field's made the way it should be, if there's no phantom holding calls, the Eagles are going to win this game.
All right, Cam, I got to ask you real quick because I didn't use my third fantasy strike.
Okay.
Who is your fantasy start of the week?
Fantasy start of the week. We'll go CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud, I think that's fantastic. He is mine too. I picked him up at quarterback and I'm loving it. But for sake of diversity, I'm going to say TJ Hawkinson. I think him and Dobbs have a fantastic connection. I think he made 28 points. And when your tight end can get you 28 points, that can heal a lot of hurt. That's all from us here. We'll see you guys next time.
That's all for Good Morning Sports fans. Thank you for watching. Go enjoy your week off of school or work or whatever it may be, and enjoy Thanksgiving.
Ciao.